What would happen if the present androids killed the Z fighters? And how would Cell be involved in all of this? Well, to answer your thoughts, alrighty guys, it is Kwame here today, also known as Detective Q, and today I will be answering this what if scenario for you today, as I will analyze potential scenarios, character interactions, and whether or not this outcome would have been positive or negative. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, the first thing we have to analyze is the trigger event. What is the initial event that we should alter to see how everything plays out? Well, it would be the scene where Android 17 and Android 18 defeated most of Earth's forces. The only exception is that they would kill them instead of actually allowing them to live and fight another day. This means that Vegeta, Future Trunks, Piccolo, Tien, and Krillin would all die on the spot. And as we already know, killing Piccolo kills Kami and renders the Dragon Balls useless. But we also have some terrible news. After the Android fight, Android 16 originally suggested that they go after Goku next, and because the group that fought the androids is all dead, there wouldn't have been a suggestion to take Goku over to Master Roshi's place, not to mention the fact that Bulma would have been isolated with Gohan and Yajirobe, leaving Chichi and Yamcha blind to what's about to happen. One thing we have to note is that characters like Master Roshi, Gohan, and Yamcha all have the ability to sense ki. So although they would be blind to the fact that the androids would be coming after Goku since they can't sense the androids, those characters would instantly be aware that most of Earth's forces are now dead. But they have one thing going for them to make this much better. If we assume that the androids still retain a more childlike alteration in personality, this would mean that they wouldn't immediately fly over to where Goku is and would take the slow route by driving a car. This very simple event is actually great because it buys the others time to take Goku to another location. And the most logical thing that should happen is the fact that Bulma would want to move Goku with the anticipation that the androids may go after Goku and Gohan next. It makes sense for Goku, Chi-Chi, Yamcha, and Gohan to all move towards the Capsule Corporation this time instead of Master Roshi's house because of the fact that the Roshi idea was brought up by the Z fighters, but if they're all dead, it makes sense for Bulma to make a decision in this matter. And if I were to point out something about the area itself, an urban area such as the Capsule Corp would actually make it harder for the androids to find Goku because there's so many living organisms around. So what's next? Now we have to talk about Cell. The reason being is that Cell would still be around absorbing people to get stronger. This means that Cell's rate of getting stronger increases due to being able to absorb weaker people in peace. And if we keep the androids' present personality constant by only altering them killing the Z fighters, they wouldn't have been causing a massive genocide to the Earth's population the way they originally did in the future. So days would pass and Goku would eventually wake up in privacy and realize that he and Gohan need to use the Room of Spirit and Time, also referred to as the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. At this point, Cell would still be absorbing people, but he wouldn't have absorbed the androids yet. Because originally, Cell sensed Piccolo's massive energy when he was fighting against Android 17 so that he could pinpoint where the battle was. So, eventually Goku and Gohan would emerge from the Room of Spirit and Time much stronger than Imperfect Cell and the androids, which is great for the series. If Cell continues to absorb people in other cities, Goku and Gohan can detect small life forms being lost and can eventually confront Cell. And with Goku and Gohan being near the power that they were during the Cell games, Cell would be a bug to both of them and would lose without question. However, there's one very important detail we should add to all of this. Goku has the instant transmission and would eventually have made a trip to New Namek to use the Dragon Balls to eventually revive Piccolo and the others back so that they can use the Dragon Balls again. However, the biggest detail in all of this is that Goku wouldn't bring back Dende, as Piccolo and Kami would have never fused, and since Cell would have been dead at this point, Goku would have been stronger and there would have been no need for Piccolo to fuse with Kami, as Piccolo didn't want to fuse with Kami in the first place and did it out of necessity. And seeing how strong Goku is now, Vegeta would also want to go into the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, and the same goes for Trunks. This way they could defeat the androids in both the present and the future. And the same also goes for Piccolo, who also went into the hyperbolic time chamber to train himself at some point. And because of Trunks' influence and Vegeta being humiliated and killed by Android 18 earlier, this all suggests that at whatever point the Z-Fighters bump into the androids, they would kill them instead of letting them go, and because of Android 16, this even further suggests that the Z-Fighters would have a much more hostile attitude towards the androids, as Android 16 was hell-bent on killing Goku. And the last thing I should mention is Krillin wouldn't have the love drug of being attracted to Android 18 the same way he originally was to spare her life, as she and her brother would have killed him once before. So what happens next? At whatever point the androids die, Trunks would go back to his future and he would kill the androids with ease whenever he bumped into them and would easily kill Cell. Now I should mention that Trunks would have very little knowledge of who Cell is and why Cell would want his time machine, but he would kill him out of self-defense since he's much stronger this time. In terms of the main timeline, everything should be peaceful until the Buu arc. One event that I think is still probable to happen is Gohan meeting Videl and entering the tournament. I say this because Chichi would still want Gohan to go to school. Not to mention the fact that Gohan may also want to become the Great Saiyaman on his own will by observing crime in the city. And when you couple this with the potential prize money, it makes sense for the tournament to happen for Goku and Gohan because of Chi-Chi's insistence on Gohan's studies, along with the financial being of the family. When you look at Goten, he may also be born too, and the funny part about this is that Goku and Chi-Chi might also have more kids when you factor in that Goku would have been around for 7 years and would have had more free time with Chi-Chi. So with this said, the tournament should go in a similar direction with the exception of Android 18 and possibly Krillin from competing. Krillin mostly competed originally due to Android 18's influence, but he may still go to see his friends and to possibly be a runner-up to take home some prize money. But I should point out that when we talk about Krillin specifically, Krillin's incentive to move out of Master Roshi's island is much lower without having a family in Android 18 and Marin. So the entire event of Spopovich and Yamu can occur, leading everyone to Babidi, and if we assume that Vegeta wants to participate to challenge Goku, he wouldn't have built up as much animosity in fighting him because Goku wouldn't have been dead, meaning that Vegeta wouldn't have let himself get possessed. And if you subtract the distraction of Majin Vegeta, Babidi and all of his henchmen including Deborah would have gotten killed. Although Goku may not have learned Super Saiyan 3 because he would have been alive, years of training stacked along with his first trip to the Room of Spirit and Time should be enough for Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan to defeat Deborah, especially if they have to fight together in a group. And I think if you factor in that Deborah was stated to be around the same strength of Cell, with this time that has passed, there's almost no way that Buu would have hatched. And as a result of all of this, Mr. Satan may actually have won the tournament genuinely due to the Z-Fighters going to fight Babidi and his men since 18 is now gone. However, I should point out that if Goten and Trunks still decide to be the Mighty Mask and defeat Mr. Satan, there could be a potential problem that can occur in the fight if it's found out that they're actually children. The only thing that would happen is that Mr. Satan might take a popularity dive for losing to 2 potential kids in masks. Now, the next thing we have to do is discuss Dragon Ball Super. It's simple. There's no Majin Buu to piss off Beerus with the pudding, and because of this, if Beerus decided to take a trip to Earth, it wouldn't have resulted in the planet potentially blowing up. However, if we assume that Goku is probably weaker than he originally was, Beerus may not have been as interested in his abilities, leading Goku to never become a Super Saiyan God, which means that the Beerus-Goku connection wouldn't have been as strong in this scenario. And when we move on to Resurrection of F, Resurrection of F is still faintly possible to happen, and if it did, Frieza would easily wipe out everyone if he came back. However, with Piccolo never fusing with Kami, this increases the chances of stopping Togoma and Sorbet from using the Dragon Balls, as Kami seems much more aware of what goes on Earth, and Piccolo could have easily communicated with Kami to take out Togoma and Sorbet before everything led to what it was. And with less contact with Beerus and Whis, the Universe 6 tournament is virtually impossible to occur since Goku and Vegeta would most likely not be training under Beerus and Whis. And when we move on to the Future Trunks Zamasu arc, that arc can't exist either because of the fact that the time loop needed Goku and Beerus' assistance to even meet Zamasu in the first place. And even if Goku Black still somehow occurred with Trunks going back in time, This would have been a very bad scenario because Goku couldn't have pressed the Zeno button to bail out everybody and just wipe out the entire future universe. And last but not least, taking us to modern day Dragon Ball Super, we have the Torment of Power. And the Torment of Power wouldn't have happened because Universe 7 would have just been destroyed if Zeno simply decided to do so like he originally did for all of the weaker mortal ranking universes. And when you also factor in that Zeno and Goku don't have the same relationship in this scenario than they originally did, there really isn't any reason that would have given Zeno reason to create a tournament or to give Goku a chance. So if Zeno decided to wipe out Universe 7, there's really nothing that could have saved them there. And in terms of some major character interactions, Gohan would have never have gone Super Saiyan 2 against Cell, but can still eventually meet up with Videl and fall in love, potentially having Pan as a baby in the future. Androids 16, 17, and 18 would have all died together. Mr. Satan would not have been as popular as he originally was for defeating Cell, and he may have also have taken a bigger popularity dive for potentially losing to the Mighty Mask in the tournament. Piccolo and Kami would have never fused, and Piccolo would have been much weaker without fusing with Kami. And the important thing in all of this is that the Dragon Balls wouldn't have been changed, as in this scenario, Dende would have never came to Earth, and we would still be using the same Dragon Balls under Kami's rule. Krillin and Android 18 would have never have gotten married and had Marin as a baby. In terms of Goku and Chichi, they may have actually have had more kids, and Goten may actually be stronger with Goku's influence if we assume Goten is still born in a similar way. In terms of Vegeta, he may not have softened up as much, and without the influence of Future Trunks, he could have cared even less about Bulma and Kid Trunks since Goku would be alive as a distraction. Yamcha surprisingly would be a key survivor in all of this, as he would have been the one with Goku and Chi-Chi while Goku was sick, and Future Trunks and Future Bulma would have a lot less respect for Vegeta because Vegeta wouldn't have raged out against Cell the way he originally did. And when we compare Future Trunks to Kid Trunks might have actually been weaker if Vegeta didn't care enough about training him in this scenario. So ultimately guys, is this a positive or a negative outcome? Well, I think we can say that this is a positive outcome unless Zeno eventually destroys Universe 7 anyways on his own accord, or if Frieza somehow comes back stronger than ever. If Goku somehow died by the androids or Cell in this instance, it would have turned out very similar to Trunks' future. My friend Mozilla Volpix pointed out a very interesting thing in saying that Piccolo saved the world by telling Gohan to go out and leave with Bulma and Yajirobe in case history repeated itself, and after analyzing this what-if scenario, the only exception that changed this what-if scenario from the Trunks timeline is the fact that Bulma and Gohan would have been aware as to what is going to come, with the only difference of not knowing who Cell was. And we can all say that knowing the future outcome helped them prepare for it even though they took losses along the way. So ultimately guys, are you shocked that this was a positive outcome, or do you still think that this what if scenario would have gone down in a negative direction? I'd like to thank my friend Dragon League for creating the thumbnail for this video, along with my friend Mozilla Volpix for helping me plan out this topic today, as I will post a link to Dragon League's Twitter and a link to Mozilla Volpix's YouTube channel in my description. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and remember, as I always say, to have a great day guys, and vote on whether or not you thought this would have been a positive or a negative outcome in my YouTube card.